Hey, what's going on, everybody? In this video, we're going to be doing my last Irish Readathon book review, and this is going to be a review of In Search of Ancient Ireland, The Origins of the Irish from Neolithic Times to the Coming of the English by Cormac McCaffrey and Leo Eaton. Interesting, this book was a companion book to apparently a PBS documentary series that was made, I think, in 2002 or something like that. I've never read a companion book, so I don't really have any other companion books to compare it to. But I thought overall it was really well done. One of the interesting things, I guess, about being a companion book to a documentary is that, you know how in documentaries they have sort of these like cameo appearances of either people they're sort of interviewing or asking questions or having them explain something that in this book it would be like people in Ireland doing something or whatever, and they're basically in there and has their responses and quotes, and they're introduced as characters, I guess. But also, like, you know how in some documentaries there's like a professor that's sort of like just, you know, in a room or something, or some expert, and you know it pans to them basically like in their room, and you know they start talking for a couple minutes. That's in the book too, and it's kind of strange, but really it's not like a jarring read or anything, but I just thought that was kind of an interesting way to write a book. So let's start with the negatives like I usually do. I don't know if it's because I just read How the Irish Saved Civilization pretty much at the same time I read this book, but it just seems like it spent a lot of time on like the monastic era, which I know is really important in especially medieval Irish history, but it's just like certain lives of the saints just drag on and on and on, and the whole explanation of Irish monastic life and its comparison with continental monastic life just always seems to drag on and on and on, to be honest. So I don't know if that just bored me out because I just read the exact same thing basically in How the Irish Saved Civilization. But yeah, I felt that section of the book was pretty tedious, and it's not super big or anything, but it's a pretty good portion of the book, I should say. Now, I really enjoyed the sections on basically pre-Christian Ireland, especially like in the Stone Age, and then like the early Iron Age and the Bronze Age, because I didn't know pretty much anything about that in Ireland, I should say. So that was really interesting to read, and how some practices are pretty similar and how some practices to even in contemporary times are fairly similar to what was going on even in time, like as far distant time as those. So I thought that was really interesting. And also I felt that the Viking section on the book, which is a major portion of the book, was really well done, and how Viking society had a really big impact on Irish society, and how there was a blending of that Hiberno-Norse civilization in Ireland. I thought that was really well done. One other nitpicky thing is that the book is titled From Neolithic Times to the Coming of the English, but the whole Coming of the English section is very, very brief. I think it's like 2 or 3 pages or something like that, maybe a couple more, but it's very, very brief. Basically anything after Brian Boru is essentially kind of that's sort of just like the wrap up and epilogue of the book. There's really nothing to it. Overall, I felt the book was well written for having 2 authors. Like, you can't really tell, like in some books that are written by more than one author, you can tell the different writing styles between the multiple authors. In this book, I didn't really notice that at all, so that was definitely really good. Now, being a companion book to a documentary series, the book didn't go into too much detail on a lot of topics, but to be honest, since I don't know too much about Irish history in particular, that was actually a good thing. And so in that sense, the book definitely did what it was supposed to do, and that is basically give me a really good outline and starting point to go off if I want to keep going into learning more about Irish history. I felt that the book was really well written for its intended audience, and for that reason I'm going to give the book 4 stars out of 5. And always remember, read victoriously.